Friday and Saturday, we give you guys the information that allows you to do some self-improvement, personal development, because we cover relationship topics. We cover networking, negotiations, building your brand, talking about promotions on your jobs, raises, retirement, severance packages, because anytime your company is going to compensate you in any way, whether they're compensating you to stay, compensating you to do more, or compensating you to get out, there's always a negotiation. So you don't have to just take what they give you. You can actually document your worth, gauge your worth against the market, and then propose more than what they offered you. Because what they offered you is a first offer, and it's always going to be the lowest offer. And if you accept it, they don't got to give you what you're worth. But if you negotiate more than what they offer you, then they can push for, or you can push for them giving you the max that you're qualified for based on your job position and your years of experience and your performance. Then we talk about, and that works for everything, your promotions, your raises, that works for retirement packages, 401ks. We just talked about doing that with your health insurances, since they're going to be changing the laws related to the health insurance for the jobs. And then your severance packages, when they go to fire you, what do they give you when they tell you to leave? Extra 3 to 6 months worth of health insurance that's on the company's dollar, or all of your vacation PTO days, or all of your shares and stocks sold back to you so that you can get your money back, or stuff to that effect. You can negotiate certain things so that you're not walking out with a garbage bag in your hand and all of what you've put into this company is left on the table. Then we talk about your 20-year plan. And I preach about this on a number of different ways, because from the day you start until the day you're capable of stopping, because you don't have to stop, but you're supposed to reach a point where you're done. Treat it like NASCAR. You do the 500 laps, but the victory lap is a choice. You don't have to go around the track one more time. You can do donuts in the field. You don't have to do donuts in the field. You can cross the finish line and stop your car. You don't have to do more, but you choose to. Think about it like a foot race. You do the race. Once you cross the finish line, you can stop. You don't have to keep running. You don't have to do a victory lap and go through the marathon one more time just because you did the 21K. You're going to do 41 just to spite people. You don't have to do that. You can stop. And the same thing with your life is that your 20-year plan allows you to figure out now what all you need to do to meet your expectations, and give yourself 20 years to accomplish that. And if you're doing one thing every day, or in some situations, one thing every week on your day off, you should be able to accomplish enough stuff in the first 5 years where you can see some money coming in, even if that money is being reinvested in your expansion. You should be able to do enough research and enough effort and enough planning and enough blueprints that within the first 2 years, you should be able to see a physical establishment there that is generating some type of success. There is no reason why you don't have. You don't have because you don't have. You don't have because you don't get. You don't get because you don't try. So I try to tell you guys about building your 20-year plan. The end of your 20-year plan is where you stop. And whether you're going to stop working and lay on a couch all day and play Xbox or PlayStation, get that new GTA 6 and ride it until GTA 7 comes out 10 years from now, or, are you going to get out of the house and, go clubbing like the young kids used to do? Or are you going to travel the world? What are you going to do with the remainder of your life with your 20-year plan? And that lifestyle has a price. That price is your budget. And if that budget is being paid for by your brokerage account, if that budget is being paid for by your profit margin of some kind, you have to put in the work to get to that payout. If you're not making money from yourself, for yourself, by yourself, you've got zero coming in on your behalf. If you need a $70,000 a year lifestyle, or like we talked about in some of the places in Asia, the digital nomad visa might require you to have $75,000 a year. to get that 6 to 12 month visa. If your goal is to have a $75,000 a year income and you don't have a $75,000 a year income right now, what you got to do to get to that $75,000? And then when you think about how if you need that $75,000 income to be paying you while you're in Japan or South Korea, what do you got to do to have $75,000 on your behalf being wired to Japan? This is how you start your plan. Where do I need to be at in 20 years? Where do I want to be at in 20 years? And then what do I got to do to get there? And that is how you pay attention to building your plan from the ground up, because the building your plan from the ground up doesn't start with, I don't want to be broke. Yeah, it could, but what else? You know, if you go to a dealership to buy a car, you got cars, trucks, SUVs. What else? It's got tires on it. It should have gas in it. Tinted windows. The horn should work on it. Car alarm. Nice stereo system. Comfy seats. Cool interior design. You're going to start adding stuff to the list, and each thing costs money. Floor mats, company logos, custom rims, you know, custom paint job, souped up. All of these things that you're thinking about that you want to have, that's what dictates how much it's going to cost. Then what's the monthly payments? Now, if the monthly payment shifts your desires and say, well, shit, I don't need all that extra stuff because I want the payments to be right around 300. You make those changes. And this is how we build our 20-year plan. And then the next thing we do is we talk about on Sundays, questions and comments from the fans, and we cover everything else that isn't covered on the themed shows. So Battlezone asks me annuities. I love these questions, even though they are redundant. An annuity is going to be valued by me the same way as a mutuality, or I'm saying it wrong. Mutual fund, an annuity, and a bond, and a certificate of deposit, or CD, are all valued the same way to me, because they are low risk. There's low interest on that, especially since they cut the interest on it. And some of them, depending on which ones you get, have fees. And when you have the fees versus the interest rates, you're actually getting even less. There are restrictions on them, because if you withdraw them, all of these, the mutual accounts, the annuities, the government bonds, the 401k, Roth IRAs, if you withdraw money out early, there's fees for that. The certificates of deposits, there's fees for that. There's penalties for that if you withdraw them early. If you put them up and let them mature, then you're fine. But if you don't, then you're not. And that's going to be an issue. That's going to be the suffrage. So in the position that you're in right now, you don't have an anything, really. You don't have an anything. You don't have anything at all. Which puts you in a compromising position. So, and the reason why I say you don't have anything is because money you can't touch for 20 years, not money that you choose not to touch, money that you can't touch for 20 years, that's money gone. We discuss from time to time in this case, and in the show, opportunity costs. And your opportunity cost is what you could have done with your money during that period of time versus what you actually did with the money during that period of time. Putting your money in a high interest savings account for 3% when you could have put it in a brokerage account for 18%. The opportunity cost is the difference between the two. You could have made 15% more than what you actually made. And actually, technically, it's more than 15%, because if you say, for example, out of $10,000, 3% would be like $300. Out of $10,000, 15% would have been $1,500. The difference between the two is that you would have had, well, if I did 18%, it'd have been $1,800. And that's even worse, or even better, depending on which side of the fence you're on. It's even worse if you had the $300 versus the 18%, but it's even better if you had the 18%, because the 18% is 6 times more return on your initial investment than the 3%. So you would have missed out on 6 times more money playing it safe. You have to understand that profits from investments is only occurring on volatility. You do want security and you do want some safe investments. You want to find you a balance. And typically, if you have a portion of your brokerage account or your investment opportunity that is leaning towards high volatility, like some of the stocks that I put up on the show, um, that high volatility that's rocking 16, 17, 18% can offset your stable growth stocks that are operating at 3 and 5%. And then your average portfolio is going to be everything: stocks, bonds, gold, silver, platinum, mutualities, everything, real estate investments, everything, anything that can turn a profit is your portfolio. And the average of the quantity of money that you're getting versus how long it's taking for you to get it there, that's what your profit margins are going to look like. Your risk tolerance is if you can lose that money and not miss it, versus how long you can wait to turn a profit off of that investment. Two different things, but they play into the same. If you don't need the money, but you can't wait for the profit, it doesn't benefit you. If you need the money, but you can wait for the profit, you can't lose it. If you need the money and you can't wait for the profit, you definitely can't use it. So your ability to put it up for a little while is almost the same as starting up a business. Your ability to put effort into this for a little while is limited to when you need money, and it is no exception. You are in a position where you're now required to give up on that effort and go get something else. Go get something that's paying now. And that's one of the main reasons why a lot of people who skip annuities, they skip mutualities. That's how you say it. They skip mutualities. They skip government bonds. They go straight into Bitcoin. They go straight into real estate. They go straight into stock markets, because if you know what you're doing, you can hit it big on Bitcoin in one day. But if you don't, you can lose it all and owe them money. If you know what you're doing, you can hit it big in the stock market. And if you don't, you can lose it all and owe them money. If you know what you're doing, you can hit it big in real estate. But if you don't, you can lose it all and owe them money. The volatility is where the profit comes from. But a guarantee like investing in utilities, water, gas, and I'm not talking about oil. I'm talking about like the electric bill, the gas bill, the water bill, the sewage company, uh, um, reclaimed water treatment plants, nuclear fusion, stuff like that. The stable stuff that's creeping up ever so slightly on a consistent basis. The return on that is low because there isn't much volatility there. Yeah, your money is safe. Some people feels more comfortable about putting their money in an account with 5% return because it feels like a guaranteed return. If there's 99% opportunity to get back 5%, a lot of people dive on that. But that's, he said, every time I hear that word annuities, all I think is that commercial. It's my money and I need it now. But you know what the problem with annuities is that you can't get your money now, because the annuities that says that if you don't acquire the money after a certain date, you got to pay a fee. And that fee is usually more than all of the interest that you got back off of it and some of the principal. My buddy had invested into Lambda, which is a app for a real estate investment trust. It's a legitimate company. It is a legitimate app. I would use it. The problem is that they have it in their fine print, and I only call it fine print because you're on a cell phone and the text is small. Uh, it says clearly, plain as day, you can read it. I can read it. I got vision problems. That the money has to be there for more than, if I remember correctly, either 12 or 24 months, or you would pay a penalty. Now, if you are adding money to the investment every month, to prevent from some of the money you withdrawing from the account qualifying for the penalty, you would have to stop investing for 12 or 24 months before you ask for your money back, where you can get back all of your money plus the interest minus the withdrawal fee, because they charge you a transaction fee to take the money off of the account and put it into your bank account. Now, my buddy had been putting it in there for less than a year. Then he needed his money. He had gained a substantial quantity of money, specifically well over $300 worth of interest on his initial investment. When he pulled his money out, he lost 25% of his principal and all of his interest. So he pulled out 8 months into his investment opportunity, and he lost 25% of his principal and 100% of his interest. I don't want to touch nothing right now as a startup investing into anything that requires me to wait a number of years before I go and get my money back. With a brokerage account, with gold and silver, platinum, with Bitcoin, with real estate, I put my money up, I should see money within 30 days. Because me, I'm going to buy the real estate property and turn it into a rental property. I'm not going to fuck with fix and flips, because that is problematic work. Some of the most successful real estate agents tells you plain and simple, buy and holds generates more revenue than fix and flips. Takes less effort. You buy the property, you hold it, you put it up there for a reasonable price, put a tenant in there, guaranteed income within 30 to 60 days of the house being available. The more rental properties you have, the better it is for you, because you have a reoccurring thing. But yeah, I agree with you. I need my money and I want it now. And that's why my mentality is, I personally do not, while they are good investment opportunities, I do not invest in an opportunity that has a requirement to get my money back that cost me money out of my profit. I don't like doing that. Now, I don't mind paying the brokerage fees. I don't mind paying the service fee on Stash App in order to not have to pay brokerage fees for every single transaction. Because transaction fees, if you're doing 15 or 20 transactions a month, or 100 or 200 transactions a month, those transaction fees add up. And typically, if you're doing a dividend rotation strategy, you're at least selling 4 to 8 times a month, and you're buying 4 to 8 times a month. So you're close to 16 to 20 times a month worth of transactions. And if you had to pay every time you made a sale, every time you made a purchase, you would be throwing away a lot of your profit. And that's why I say the flat rate fee that you get from Stash App, plus they're trading using ETFs instead of the actual options trading. You don't have to wait for people to buy into your stock. The liquid is there. If somebody else wants the same stock that you're trying to get rid of, or if somebody else is trying to sell the same stock that you're trying to buy, your capital is there. The stock is there. It's going to change hands. It's going to change hands, because there's no specific ownership of the shares, because it's fractional shares and investments. But if you put up enough monetary value to cover 100% of the value of a share, you get 100% of the value of a dividends for that share. So now you're not trying to buy 300 shares. Now you're trying to put up $3,000, and if however many shares you can get for $3,000, that's what you do. You put up $100,000, and however many shares of $100,000, that's what you do. Right? So there's a lot there. There's a lot there, and that actually brings us to what we're talking about today, because we're going to be talking about Estonia, and we're going to be talking about investments and the living space and everything to that effect. And I think that, well, and when you're in the membership, if you guys do go into the membership and you look at a lot of the stuff that's being rolled out this week, because every morning something gets released. So by the time you wake up or by the time you get off from work, you're gonna be like, oh shit, he gave us something else. Including the link to Stash App, so you can click that link and join in. When you look at the brokerage accounts and you look at a lot of the shares that I put up on the screen, let me do it for you real quick. When you look at these and you see the core 5 that I put up there, I think it's 5 or 6 of them that I put up there, where at least 5 of them are monthly payers. You're like, holy shit, the average of these 5 stocks together is an average of 17.1% return. I can have 5 different stocks that is a portion of my brokerage account, guaranteeing me that if I offset it with some that have lower percentages, that I'm making an average of 15% or more. And when you're thinking about the fact that, yeah, taxation is going to hit you 3 to 4% of your profit, which is probably going to take about 3% of your out of your money. So if you're getting back 15 or 18%, you're probably going to get knocked down to about 12 to 16%, right? Then taxation is going to hit you again for 22%, but that's 22% of your profit. So that means that you're probably going to see another 3 to 5% come off of the total amount that you have. So you're going to go down from 12 down to like 8, maybe 7, or if you're doing at 18%, it's going to go from 16, it's going to go down to like 11%, maybe 10, right? That 3% difference after taxes and after inflation, that 3% difference is the difference between being a quarter millionaire and being a millionaire in 20 years. That's what people don't think about. Billionaires became billionaires because they saw something that nobody else was looking at. They put their money down, and then everybody else saw it, and then they put their money up. And the value of what was already owned, like Warren Buffett, the value skyrockets. So now, if he wants to sell it, he can, but he doesn't have to. Because we learned through this podcast, if you own it, you can leverage it. So if you bought it at $20 a share, if you bought it at $5 or $10 a share, and now it's worth $200 a share. If you had 10,000 shares, now you've got $200,000. You got $250,000. You got, whatever, more than that. Now, at this point, you can leverage 70% of your stock portfolio for capital that you use to buy assets, cash up front. And this is the golden age that I'm trying to talk to everybody about. And you might be between 5 and 15 years into your 20-year plan when you get this far. But when you have the ability to leverage your brokerage account for cash, then you can buy a brand new car, cash up front. You've got the title. The debt is leveraged against the brokerage account. You can buy a house, cash up front. You've got the deed. The debt is leveraged against the brokerage account. The brokerage account's paying dividends, and the dividends that is paying against the loan, the taxable income is offset by the paying of the debt. The assets aren't intertwined in that. That's separate. And when you start operating on that magnitude, you'll be taking $40,000, $50,000, $75,000 a year worth of brokerage payments and putting that towards paying off debt. Like, for example, you take out 100 grand, you put down 15 grand, 24 grand to cover the utilities for the year. and then you take the other $250,000, you go and buy you a car, and put some of it into the brokerage account to increase the principal. You're paying off that loan. The profits from the brokerage account pays off the loan tax blanket. But all the shit that you paid for with the money that you borrowed, that's not a profit. That was money borrowed and stuff gained from the money borrowed. This is how billionaires get billionaires. This is how millionaires become billionaires. And this is why broke people stay broke, because broke people don't do this. Broke people borrow against a stone for bullshit. They'll take out a loan so that they can buy them $1 million title, a legitimate $1 million title from WWE for the $1 Million Man. They won't borrow money against a stone so that they can pay their bills for the next 2 years, so that they don't have to worry about how their bills are going to get paid. They don't buy a car cash up front. They'll finance a car with their savings. They'll put all their savings down to finance a car, but they won't buy the car cash up front. They won't buy the house cash up front. They'll put all their savings down to cover the down payment on the house and get the most expensive house that their down payment can cover. But they don't think, fuck, buy a house that you can buy cash up front and then take out a 75% mortgage or 50% mortgage on the house, where now your house is only going to have like $500 or $700 a month notes on it. Because anything over $50,000 or $55,000 can go on a 30-year mortgage. Anything less than $50,000 or $55,000 is on a 10 to 15-year mortgage. So if you have 100% equity in your house, you can take a an equity line of credit, home equity line of credit out, HOC or EHOC, however you want to put it, and you take that out, and then you can do stuff with it, whether you're putting solar panels on the house or using your mortgage on your house so that you can buy yourself a car, pay for your kids' college tuition, or bail somebody out of jail, because that's what a lot of people do. They put their house up, leverage their house to get somebody out of jail. Steven said if I had $1 million or more, I would still be in the market for Toyotas that are at least 10 years old. No new cars for me. I don't know, man. I don't know. I kind of feel like I would have probably grabbed me an Audi from like 1996. The Quadro, where all-wheel drive, convertible top, probably would have grabbed that. Manual shift transmission, probably would have grabbed one of those. I would still be grabbing Toyotas, but I don't know about 10 years old, or probably 20 years ago. But if I did get one that was seemingly newer, let's say I wanted a car with little to no miles and very little maintenance on it, I would buy me a 2024 cash up front. If I had $1 million, I'd buy me a 2024. I'd buy a Camry. I'd buy a Corolla. Like, seriously, both of them, not just one or the other. I'd buy them both. I'd buy a Camry and I'd buy a Corolla. I might buy a third. I might buy a Lexus. Tinted windows, prescription glasses. I might go the extra mile and buy one that's bulletproof. Because they out here reckless these days. So I might go, but that's like a $150,000 car. But as a millionaire, I would first things first, I would put my $1 million into the portion of the brokerage account that is generating closer to 20%. I'm a ride the volatility, because with $1 million, I'd be getting $180,000 plus whatever else I spread around. Then with that $1 million, I could leverage 10% of the brokerage account to borrow 150 grand to buy a car. Then the brokerage account paying me $180,000 can put money towards that loan, pay it off. Because I'm getting paid $180,000 on a regular basis, I can buy newer cars. I can buy expensive stuff because I'm living off the interest. My standard of living should not be $180,000 a year just because I'm getting $180,000 a year out of the brokerage account. Because you got to understand, 30% of that's going to be chopped up with taxation if you're going to pay taxes. So with $1 million a year, put it closer to the 18% style, get that 180 grand back, likely going to put away about 30, 35 grand. So you're probably going to have like 145 grand out of that 145 grand, 155 grand Lexus that's bulletproof, cash up front, but I'm making like $10,000 a month payments. But if you're giving me $180,000, I'm probably getting $15,000 a month anyway. So I got $5,000 a month extra to pay for my standard of living. If I own my own house, I own my own car, I'm only paying car insurance. I've got Netflix and I've got internet, so I don't have a cable bill, water, gas. My standard of living is still going to be $30,000 at the most, $24,000 because I don't have any payments. The $24,000 a year for rent, not going to be there. The $7,000 or $10,000 a year for the car note, not going to be there. Car insurance might be $2,000 a year, but if you're looking at $2,000 a year for the car note and $1,200 a year for the water bill and $700 a year for the water bill, so the light bill, probably looking at about $5,000 or $10,000 a year because you own everything. So truth, if you had $1 million a year, even after you paid taxes, you still would only have a standard of living that was under $24,000 because you own everything. And out of the $145,000 a year that they're going to give you, you have $130,000 extra dollars that you don't know what to do with. That's when millionaires start making millionaire moves, because that extra $130,000, go buy 2 properties. Fuck, go buy 3 properties. Fuck, go buy an apartment complex that costs $10 million and put $180,000 down as collateral. Right? Start up a business. That's what they do with the rest of the money. They start up a business. And since I'm going to get that money every year, I can start something every year. I can get me $1 million property every year off of that. What's left? $110,000 every year. And then now I have more money coming in from all those rental properties. I can travel the world. I can establish real estate businesses in other countries. I can buy properties in other countries, which aids me with getting visas in other countries, which aids me with having long-term stays in other countries. I've got people that are paid to collect my money for me. My money's making money for me. I don't have to do shit. I can sip some Mai Tais on a yacht in the Bermuda Triangle and enjoy life. So if I had $1 million, I don't know, man. I don't know if I'd get a 10-year-old one. I'd get a 30-year-old one, but I like classic cars. But if I was really going to get one that didn't require any repairs, 24. But we'll get there. We're going to get there one day. It's going to take about 5 or 7 more years before I cross that threshold. And in that 5 or 7 more years, we're building wealth. Once we get to where we're trying to go, that's when everybody's like, oh, dip, right? But about today's show, what if you could start a global business from your laptop with almost no cash and legally pay 0 taxes on your profits until you decide to pay yourself? That sounds like fantasy, right? Something for the super rich with their armies of lawyers, right? What most people don't know is that a tiny European country has created an unorthodox loophole that lets you do exactly that. For years, we've been fed the same story about starting a business. You save up everything, sacrifice everything, just to scrape together the insane amount of startup capital needed to run a business. Then you have to fight your way through a maze of red tape, fill out mountains of paperwork, and wait for months for approvals. And if you survive all of that, you have chained yourself to a high tax system that punishes growth. Well, snatching a huge chunk of your profits before you can even think about reinvesting them into the business. That's what we experience. It's a system designed to keep you small. very frustrating, demoralizing. And for millions of entrepreneurs, it's a dream killer. Um, what if that whole system is optional? And what if there was a legit government backed framework built for the world that we live in now, not the world that we used to live in last century? A framework that rolls out the red carpet for entrepreneurs, no matter how much money they have in the bank. In tonight's show, I'm going to show you how to use Estonia's e-Residency program to build your wealth fast, even if you're starting with next to nothing. This isn't some sketchy tax dodge, because I don't fuck with that. It's a revolutionary way of thinking about business that the Estonian government itself created. So this is legitimate. You have to take the knowledge I give you, do your research, see how this qualifies for you. But we're going to break it down step by step, how you can set up a legitimate EU company from anywhere in the world, slash your paperwork to almost zero, and most importantly, leverage a powerful tax system to compound your wealth at a speed you never thought possible. Now, this is the blueprint of the modern entrepreneur that has been waiting for most of us to just get started digging in. So let's be real about the traditional path to starting a business. It's less of a path and more of an obstacle course designed by sadists. And just like what we talked about with starting up your own business with being a concierge nurse, there's so much red tape involved. There's so much stuff to do. There's so many certifications to get. You feel demoralized. You feel like it's too much work. You don't have enough time, but you have to start one step at a time. Even if you've got the ambition and a great idea and an unshakable work ethic, at every turn, you can hit a wall that seems designed to make you quit. First, there's the financial gatekeepers, because in so many countries, starting a real company, one that protects your personal assets, requires a massive upfront investment. In Germany, a GmbH needs you to have 25,000 euros. In other places, the number might be lower, but the message is still going to be the same. Pay up just for the privilege of starting. And this instantly knocks out countless brilliant people who have amazing ideas, but not a small fortune saved up to execute those ideas. And it creates a world where your success depends not on your idea, but on the size of your bank account. So that's why I said, Stephen, if I had $1 million, I'd invest it first. Then after I invested, then and only then would I take the profits off of that investment, start buying stuff. And I'd probably, instead of taking the profits off of the investment and going buying stuff, I would leverage against the assets, buy stuff with the loan money, and take the profits and pay off the loan so that I can get a tax credit on the profits. I still got stuff. It's not going to be instantaneous because there's a process to move money around. But if I can get the money with no extra effort and no capital coming out of my pocket, and I don't got to give any money to Uncle Sam, I kind of feel better about that. Shit. I can see myself in that position with $1 million or more. I can see myself in that position giving the schools $50,000 a year for public school to put my kid through public school. People be like, man, that's a waste of money. That's stupid. But I mean, think about it. If you're paying if you're getting paid 180,000 a year, and they're going to tax you about 30% of that, what's 1/3 of 180? Isn't that like 60 grand? Well, shit. If I gave the school 50 grand, that means I've only got 10 grand that's got to be accounted for as far as taxation. So if I got to give it somewhere, let me put it where it's going to work. Whatever school my kid's in right now, 50 bands. And that means elementary school, they're going to love it till he transfer out. Then when he transfer out, middle school, he going to love it till he get to junior high. Junior high, he going to be on the captain of the football team and the captain of the cheerleading squad, knowing he don't lift shit. Then put him into high school and big dog on campus. Why? Because not only do you not need free lunch, your daddy paid a salary for 2 of the teachers in the building. Like, for real. Because it's a tax deduction. It ain't about balling out of control. It's about putting your money in places where you benefit. Matter of fact, some of that money, 401k, some of that money, health savings account for yourself, some of that money, health savings account for the kids, because it's all going to be tax deducted for the health savings accounts. And if that's going towards their medical treatment, co-pays, insurance policies, uh, uh, vision and dental that's not always readily covered under regular insurance policies, that money that otherwise would have been taxed will be going directly into a bank account that is going to come out of specifically for a medical treatment that you don't have to pay taxes on. These are the ways that you move your money around to protect yourself. So if I would have put 50 grand on a school and 10 grand into a health savings account, no taxes for me. Theoretically, because out of the 60 grand worth of taxable income, I would have gotten 60 grand worth of deductions. So I would have made 150 grand, or out of 180, I would have made 120 grand tax free. Woosha. So if you somehow get the cash to get into some of these investment opportunities, you then run headfirst into bureaucratic nightmares because the paperwork is going to be legendary and you can't RKO your way through it. You're drowning in confusion and forms asking for information that you don't have, all needing to be filled out with a half a dozen different agencies, each with its own weird rules, extensions, time limits, and service fees, and late fees, and processing fees. And this usually means hiring an expensive lawyer to help you work through this in a timely fashion, and an accountant from day one, so that all of these people can make sure that your shit is legit, because the way that we can get away with half-ass doing paperwork in the United States, you're not getting away with that in another country. And this is going to all be burning through your cash before you have even made the first sale. So the whole process is going to be slow, confusing, and it's going to feel like it was designed to be as painful as possible. And let's say that you conquer those first 2 hurdles. Your business is going to be live. Now you're stuck in geographic chains because your company is tied to one country and you're stuck with its tax laws, no matter where your customers are. So in today's digital world, that makes absolutely no sense. You could be a consultant in Portugal with clients in the US, or a SSA founder in Thailand serving Europe, but your business is legally stuck in a high tax country, forcing you to hand over 30, 40, or even 50% of your profits to a government that might barely interact with your company. And this all leads to the digital nomad paradox. Technology gives us the freedom to live and work anywhere, and we can serve clients across continents from a laptop. We as people are location independent, which is why I tell you guys about all the countries around the world that you could potentially live at while making money. But our businesses are not. They are legally chained to an old, expensive, and restrictive system. And this is the single biggest frustration for the modern entrepreneur. Because I mean, fuck, I spent like 15 or 20 grand to start up both of the business that I got going on right now. It's like trying to fly a fighter jet while dragging a massive anchor. Try being on Top Gun with an oil tanker tied to the back of your jet. You know what I mean? This is where the story shifts from frustration to opportunity. And the solution comes from very unlikely places. A small Baltic nation of just 1.3 million people, which is more than most people in some states, that decided to make a radical bet on the future. That country is Estonia. Back in the 90s, after regaining independence, Estonia had to rebuild from scratch. Instead of just copying the old school systems of other countries, it leapfrogged them entirely, and it went all in on digital, creating a society where 99% of government services are online. Then in 2014, they did something truly revolutionary. They offered their digital infrastructure as a gift to the world. They created e-Residency. Now, it's virtual to understand what e-residency is. So I want you to pay attention because this is going to be vital information real quick, because this is virtual e-residency. And just as important as getting physical residency, e-residency has do's and don'ts. So we want to get through this. And this is where most people get confused. So let's get this straight. What e-residency is: it is a government issued digital identity. You get a physical smart card that acts as your digital key. It is your access pass to Estonia's incredible digital service, letting you sign documents legally across the entire EU with the click of a button. And most importantly, because this is virtual, it is the key to establishing and running a legitimate EU company 100% online from anywhere in the world. What e-residency is not, it is absolutely not a visa or a physical residency. It doesn't give you the right to live in Estonia or travel freely in the Schengen area. It's a business tool, not an immigration tool. For living there, Estonia has a separate digital nomad visa, which is totally different uh, from the e-residency. It is not citizenship. You're still a citizen of whatever country that you're in right now. It is not a magic wand for tax evasion. This is a dangerous myth. E-residency is a framework for tax efficiency and tax deferrals, but you are still responsible for your personal income taxes wherever you live. Now, if you set up a business, you set up a business account, you have all your money going into your business account, the business is established in this fashion from Estonia, whatever tax benefits your business gets from Estonia, that's what your business gets. You start paying yourself, that's personal income. That personal income hits personal income taxes from whatever country you live in. So you got to be careful about this. This is all about us being legitimate, not hiding. This isn't one of those TikTok forums, how to cheat the government. No, that's not what we're doing. Strictly above board. By decoupling the idea of a company from a physical location, Estonia solved the digital nomad paradox. They created a legal home for the world's location independent entrepreneurs. They realized that in the 21st century, talent is global and capital is digital. So instead of building walls, they built a digital bridge, inviting the world to join their friction-free business environment. And at the heart of it, all of it is going to be powerfully driven with wealth building tools that they offer you. And this is the part that will change how you think about growing a business, because this is going to be the engine. When people hear Estonia and business, they think 0% tax and picture some shady offshore heaven. But what Estonia created is so much more powerful, and it's completely legitimate. Here's how it works. Estonia does have a corporate income tax. In 2026, the rate on distributed profits is 22%. Now, you're probably thinking, wait, 22%? That's not 0%. And you're right. The magic isn't in the rate, it is in when it gets applied. Here's the loophole. In Estonia, corporate tax is only paid when profits are distributed to shareholders. As long as you keep your profits inside the company, the tax on those reinvested earnings is a flat 0%. So for those individuals that decide that you want to establish a brokerage business and set it up in Estonia, you could be like the only client of the company, putting all your money into that business, and they could be reinvesting that money into the business. And you can be borrowing against the stone for the business. You can be buying assets from the business, and then you can be paying off the money with the profits from the business, paying for itself. The shareholders don't get squat, ideally on paper, no taxation. We get stuff because we borrow money from the business and then we buy stuff under the business name, but we don't get any capital for anything because, I mean, whoop, there it is. Save 22% taxation, right? But let me say that again because it is the most important sentence that you're going to hear today. All profits that you earn and keep inside your Estonia company to reinvest are 100% tax free. You only pay tax on the money you formally take out. This creates a system of deferred taxation. And for anyone trying to build a business, it is a game changer. I call it compounding on steroids. Imagine two entrepreneurs. They both start consulting businesses, each making 100 euros of profit in a year. First guy is in a traditional country with a 25% corporate tax. At the end of the year, that guy's going to pay $25,000 in taxes, leaving him with about $75,000 to reinvest. If you use the e-Residency with Estonia, you also made $100,000 profit because you keep all the money in the business and you grow it. So you're not going to pay any taxes. So if you were dealing with the corporate taxes from the 25%, even if you were to reinvest it from other countries, you're going to have to pay that 25% and then reinvest the 75%. But with Estonia, if you're reinvesting the money back into the company, you keep the whole 100 grand. You don't pay any taxes on it. So, by keeping that full 150 of the full $100,000 you reinvested in a year, you already have an extra $25,000 more fuel for your growth. Now, imagine this happens over 5 years. The cat becomes a chasm that's going steadily, is going to see a lot more returns. And if those returns are being invested in the business, which is allowing for expansion, you're starting to have more success. Now, another guy's business, supercharged by reinvesting 100% of his profits, is going to be recognized as growing exponentially. This is how you build wealth fast. If you're using a pre-taxed money to grow your business, this is going to be identified as a privilege that just doesn't exist in most countries around the world. So this money inside your company can be used for all legitimate business expenses. Laptops that you see me using, software that you see me using, business travel you will see me using, marketing you will see me do, online courses, company vehicles, company real estate. If you are an employee of the company, you can live on a property that is owned by the company. If you are a employee of the company, you can utilize company phones, company cars, company assets. You're asking me how much would it be at start one? Well, that depends on what kind of business you have. If they started a business, so let's say somebody starts a business, and let's say that they started the business with like $10,000. And let's say that that business is giving them close to $10,000 a month. On average, they would make about $100,000. If you paid yourself back, you might have between $90,000 and $100,000 after the first year of financial success. That $100,000 year, if you set up the business in Estonia, you would not be paying taxes if you reinvested the $100,000 back into the business. Now, keep in mind, this is not paying the shareholders. The money is staying in there. It's got squat to do with paying the employees. The employees is part of the overhead. Okay. So you're asking how much would the money be at start? Well, it depends on how much it costs for you to start up your business. But the 22% taxation that you would have off of profits earned after the business is established, you would not have to pay the taxes on the profits earned. And a lot of times, most countries around the world that do give deductions on the cost of business is still going to have a variation of taxable income. Typically, how you would see taxation work is that there's a certain quantity of profits that you have. This is the bill that you owe, and then the deductions are going to subtract from that bill. Once that bill gets zero, you don't owe anything. It does not go negative where you can turn a tax deduction into a cash profit. Tax credits is cash money that is given towards taxation, which can pay towards the debt. But with tax credits, if you have a zero balance owed, whatever is left is refunded to you because it's a credit. So your advanced pay on your taxes is credit towards your tax bill. If you file your taxes and you show that you overpaid, you are entitled to the tax credit that you overpaid, which gives you your money back. If you don't pay into the pot, you don't have any credit towards your tax bill. If they give you a deduction, you don't owe as much. That's the difference. So it depends on what kind of business that you start up, but there's no business in Estonia that is not allowed to be started up, especially when you're starting up a digital business in Estonia. You can set up a brick and mortar one over there if you like, but if you're trying to if you register the business in Estonia, which means you're probably going to fly there on a 3-month visa, you might even fly there on a 1 year or longer business visa. Because whenever you're trying to establish a business in a country, they typically give you at least 1 year in the country without having all of those frequent renewals while you get the business established. Once you get the business established, you can leave the country and the business will operate out of that country digitally. The bank accounts that you have will be accepting direct deposit from anywhere in the world to go into Estonian bank accounts. And as long as that money is being utilized for the operation of the business, nobody's getting paid besides the employees. You're not giving money to shareholders. You're not cutting checks. You know what I mean? The business itself doesn't have taxation. Now, when you give yourself a personal paycheck, you have to pay for your personal income, but that's different from the business having to pay commercial taxes. Now, you have two main options for this because there's a director's salary or dividends. A salary is a business expense. and you're going to pay personal taxes on that wherever you are in the world as a tax resident. And that does make a big difference when you're going to different countries around the world, because if you are a tax resident in another country, you don't necessarily have to forfeit your US citizenship, but your tax residency will transition to whatever country you make prioritizing it. And that limits or reduces the quantity of abilities to be double taxed when you're making profits in another country. So dividends, which is paying shareholders, that is where the 22% is going to come in for Estonia. So if you're in there as an employee and you've got a $70,000 a year salary, your $70,000 a year salary will be taxed based off of whatever you got going on in your country. And in the United States, you're probably going to see about 25 or 30% taxation on that 70,000 a year for your paycheck. But all the money that came out of the business, it didn't get paid to shareholders. It's not being taxed. Now, if you're going to be dividends where you don't have to work, but because you started up the business, you're being paid a certain quantity of money in dividends, that is a corporate tax. That's when it kicks in. Now, remember I told you guys 4 months ago, Dylan was here. Dylan been working hard. Special shout out to Dylan. I said 4 months ago, if you loaned money to the company and the company was making payments on the loan, then the company can reimburse you for the money that you spent on the company. So there's yet another loophole here, because if you're turning over $100,000 worth of profit and then you reinvest into the company as a loan, not a shareholder investment, when they pay on the loan, that is a debt, not paying off the shareholders. And you're not going to see the same kind of taxation on paying off a debt that you would see with paying dividends on shares of a company. So the straight and simple here is pay yourself a modest, very small salary to cover the living expenses and leave the rest of the money that you profit inside the company tax free to reinvest in the growth and the assets like stocks, new equipment, or even other businesses. Because anything that you buy with your company, all under your Estonian company's umbrella, is all covered under the same tax expectations. It is a legitimate system that puts you in control. You missing a zero. He said 50%. He said he's not thinking like Trump. 2017 campaign election, Donald Trump loaned money to his campaign with a 500% return on investment. 500%. So I think he gave himself something close to $50 million, and then he's supposed to get 500% return, which is like what, 25 or $250 million, something like that. So for the rest of the existence of that campaign trail, he is paying himself back 500% of anywhere between $5 and $50 million forever, as long as that campaign trail generates revenue. Even while he's a president, it is paying him back 500%. And 500% is ideally 5 times more than what you put in. That's what it would be. So if he put up $50 million, it'd be like $250 million return. So when you said 50% interest, you're thinking like you were in the right direction, because you were thinking, shit, I'll overstate that 30% and hit him with 50. Nah, you got to think like a billionaire. I'm gonna tax myself 500%. And then I'm gonna make minimum payments. That way it's mostly going on the interest and nothing going towards the principal for the remainder of time. That way I can get mines back. Because if it's 500% interest with no expiration date, if you're looking at, let's use smaller numbers. Let's say $100,000 was loaned, 500% interest is $500,000. Now, $500,000 would be 500% interest in year one. That's in year one. If we start talking about year 10, that $500,000 actually might be $5 million. We start talking about year 20, that $500,000 might actually be $50 million. Because you understand that at 6% interest on a house, that a $150,000 house ends up being $350,000. So you can imagine 500% on that same value over the course of 30 years. You'd be paying me $10,000 a month for the rest of the existence of the business, as long as it's generating that revenue, because it's paying back a loan, which still isn't taxed. So now you get the why. You see the power in it. Now for the how. Let's walk you through it. You're going to be shocked at how simple this is. The e-Residency application is going to be the step one that you have to get. Your journey starts online at the official Estonian e-Residency website. So be sure to use the official government site, not any bootleg side job thing with a bunch of ads on it. And I should grab that link and throw it into the membership for those individuals that are interested in that. Then you're going to need quite a few things. Scan copy of your passport, digital passport style photo, and a credit card to pay the $150 state fee, 150 euro state fee. All of this stuff is going to be done on their website. I'm not affiliated with any of this stuff. I'm just telling you this is how it's got to get done. That's going to be an incredibly small price in comparison to the fact that you spend $300 in the United States for a tax identification number. But you're going to unlock a lot of stuff when you do that. Next thing is that you fill out the online application. It's very clear. It's going to be in English, and it's extremely user-friendly, almost like using TurboTax. They're going to ask for your personal details and your motivation for creating the business. This is the important part. You want to be clear. You want to be honest about why you want to be in the e-resident listing of Estonia. A vague answer like to make money, they're not going to approve you for that. An answer something like to establish an Estonian company, an OU company, to offer digital marketing services to international clients. That is a good proposal. Once you submit it, the Estonian police and the board guard do background checks on you. Make sure you're legit. It's a good thing. Keeps the program credible. The review usually takes 3 to 8 weeks. You're not in a rush. But then you're going to pick up your e-Residency kit. Once you're approved, you're going to get an email. They're going to tell you that your e-Residency kit is ready to be picked up at your chosen location, usually at an Estonian embassy, or consult in a major city. You're likely going to be in Estonia while you're getting this done. This is going to be the only time that you have to show up in person to prove who you are. So this isn't a scenario where you're going to put this gig together in the United States, set it up in a country that you've never been to, never go there, and get a business set up in that country. Not happening. You have to go there to wrap this shit up. You have to pick it up yourself because they need your fingerprints to link to your new digital ID. So, since you're not planning on cutting off your hand and mailing it to them, you're going to have to show up and give them some fingerprints. You're going to be handed a small box. Inside is going to be your e-Residency card, a USB card reader, and a sealed envelope with your PIN codes. Guard these pins with your life because pin 1 is for logging in and pin 2 is for your digital signature, which is a legally binding handwritten signature. Once you get this far, congratulations, you are now an e-resident of Estonia. You hold the keys to some digital nations, right? Your third step, this is going to be real interesting. You want to find a service provider. Now that you have your digital ID, before you can create a company, you need a partner On the ground, by law, a company run by a non-resident needs a legal address and a contact person in Estonia. This is where service providers come in. Companies like um, Zolo, Capino, and Unicount specialize in helping e-residents. They handle the legal address, accounting, tax filing, and annual reports. All the boring stuff that you don't want to do, which I told you before. If you were setting up these services for sale in America, you'd be making a shit ton of profits because people don't like doing this stuff. But they give you a slick online dashboard where you can upload invoices and track everything in real time. And this lets you focus 100% on your business. For most solo entrepreneurs, this will cost between 60 and 150 euros a month, which is a steal compared to hiring a traditional accountant at $350 an hour. It's a predictable, manageable expense. And if you're serious about this, you can find yourself with a lot of more information related to this in our membership. So let me know in the membership exactly which one of these you want to get your hands on, and I'll be able to set you up with whatever you got to go at no additional cost to whatever the membership is when you're in there, right? Because it really depends on how deep you're going to go. But you'll see that if you're not asking for it immediately after the show today, that you'll see it pop up as one of the notifications that happens over the next week. The next step is the step-by-step tutorials. Registering your company is going to be one of the most important things that has to be done in every country around the world. This is where it all comes together. With your e-residency card and service providers, you're about to form an EU company in a process so fast that it feels like science fiction. With an online company's registration, your service provider will walk you through most of the details. You're going to choose the company name, which you can check for availability instantly online. Then you'll find your business activities. And now for the best part, the shared capital. Until recently, you needed at least $2,500. But in a game-changing move, Estonia abolished this requirement. As of February of 2023, the minimum share capital is just €1. Let that sink in for you. You can form a legitimate EU limited liability company for literally 1 cent. That obliterates the financial barrier that stops a lot of people from being successful with starting up a business. And once you've entered, you'll insert your e-resident card. The portal will open. You will review the details. Then you'll enter your PIN number 2, which is a digital signature that founds the documents. Click confirm. That's it. In many cases, approval comes back within 24 hours. That's when you start working on your banking and payment options. Your company exists, but it needs a bank account. Forget traditional banks. The answer is fintech. Companies like Wise, Revolt, and Pioneer are the go-to solutions for e-residents. You can open a multi-currency business account with a dedicated IBAN online using your new e-resident card to prove your identity. Once you have your account, you can connect it to Stripe and PayPal to accept credit card payments from customers anywhere in the world. And now you have closed the loop. With that, you have the legal EU company, bank accounts, and the ability to get paid all from your computer, which allows you to fully establish not just digital nomad currency, but a digital business that can be run from anywhere in the world. without ever setting foot in Estonia outside of getting your fingerprints done. This system is very powerful, but it is not for everyone because it is crucial to know if it is the right fit for you based on the type of business you're trying to run. This is a perfect fit for digital nomads who work in different countries as they travel, freelance workers who work off their computer while they travel, consultants who work off of their computer while they travel. If you are a writer, a designer, a developer, or a remote consultant, this is tailor made for you. SaaS and software founders, the white label software, you can sell to a global market and reinvest 100% of your early profits into development and marketing of your business. E-commerce businesses, especially if you sell digital products or drop ship without holding physical inventory. Content creators and YouTubers, an efficient way to consolidate income from ad revenue, sponsorship, and affiliate marketing. Because if they're providing you with all of this profit, it's going into the business and then it's either being reinvested in the business or being used to pay out for advertisement. Instead of you being taxed on it in the United States, you get a profit. Well, you don't get a profit off of it. You don't get taxed on it, which turns into a profit because you can reinvest it into more ad space. You can reinvest it into more services to further market your company, which allows you to get more views and allows you to be seen more, which allows you to be more successful. Aspiring location independent entrepreneurs, if you are in a business that isn't tied to a physical location, this is going to be the ultimate freedom for you. However, this is probably not for certain individuals because if your business is a brick and mortar business, meaning a physical structure that you have to show up to, unlock the doors, and let the customer in. If you're opening a physical coffee shop or a retail store, you need to register where your business is physically located at. This is not a move that you decide to say, I'm going to create a pawn shop on Fifth Ave in Detroit and then go to Estonia and get the business registered. That's not what this is about. If the full existence of your business is online, on your computer, with no physical location anywhere else in the world besides Estonia, that's when you're using this. If you want to move to Estonia, though, remember that e-Residency is not the visa. So if you want to live in Estonia, you need to look at their separate digital nomad visa. The DNV has its own rules, including a minimum income requirement of $4,500 per month. Now, the Philippines allows you to come in for $24,000 a year, which is about $2,000 a month. $4,500 a month, or almost $5,000 a month, means that you're going to be somewhere closer to about $55,000 a year before taxes. Cheaper than Japan and South Korea, that's looking for $72,000 to $75,000 a year before taxes. But that gives you an understanding, like you got to really be making your money on your computer before you call yourself going over there and getting a residence. Now, if you're trying to evade taxes, I have to say this again. This is a system for tax deferral and simplification, not tax evasion. I don't encourage tax evasion at all. I think it's a bad idea. You must pay for personal income taxes on your salary or dividends in the country where you are a resident. If you're trying to establish a business or a trust or something like that in a country that is not going to tax you, you want to find places like Belarus or Bangladesh that might have $0 taxes on corporate taxes, or $0 taxes on personal tax, or $0 taxes on non-residential trusts, which allows you to not get taxed on the income that goes into that account as it is registered to that country. So this system is for the legitimate entrepreneurs who want to play a modern, fair set of rules designed for growth, where instead of you losing so much money in taxation for the in your country, you can reinvest it, buy more materials, hire more people, pay for more advertisement, expand your company, build another one in a different country where you can actually have a brick and mortar one. You might want to have a digital company online in Estonia and then put a brick and mortar business in 13 different countries around the world, but you can't get there if you can't expand on your initial profits by reinvesting. That said, e-residency and digital nomad visas can work together beautifully. You could use your Estonian company to grow a business, and once you meet the income threshold, pay yourself the required salary to go live in Tallinn for a year, a city known for its vibrant tech scene and affordable cost of living. Now, for decades, the path to building a business has been full of rocks and potholes and roadblocks, high startup costs, the soul-crushing bureaucracies, tax systems that punish growth, and Estonia, with its visionary e-residency program, has created a new path that is very legitimate and government-backed, with a loophole that sidesteps the broken traditional model and embraces the reality of our new digital world. It's going to offer a world where you can start a trusted EU company with a very efficient and practically zero capital startup anywhere on earth. You just got to show up and give them your fingerprints. A world where admin is handled for a low monthly fee, freeing you from focusing on what's mattering to focusing on what you're getting done next. And the most powerful thing that we have here is a world where you can legally defer 100% of your company's corporate taxes by reinvesting all of your money back into your company, creating a compounding effect that can accelerate your path to wealth in a way that's impossible almost anywhere else. And this is a benefit for you because if you have an income coming in and you're trying to start up a business, and you need to reinvest the profits back into the business so you're not getting paid off of the business, instead of you being taxed by that in America, you can reinvest it into the business in Estonia, and you can expand the business from a one-man operation to a 50-man operation before you start cutting yourself a paycheck. This is more than a business strategy. It is a paradigm shift, and it gives power back to the individual creators, the innovators, and the solopreneurs, which is like S corporation startup guys that try to build things from the ground up. The tools once reserved for the wealthy are now available to you right now today. So if you're ready to break free from the old way of doing things, your first step is to learn more. You've got to do your research. You have to find the things that interest you and then evaluate how you plan on accomplishing that. If you decide that, oh man, this is a fantastic idea, it's always going to be available to you, but you can't do it right now, specifically because you don't have the money to fly to Estonia and get the fingerprints done. Hey, you can put that on your to-do list. This is something that you might want to do. Estonia might be one of the countries you want to add your foreign domestic company established. Because if you have a digital version of your company in Estonia and a physical version of your company in the United States, Japan, Taiwan, and Thailand, and the Philippines, you can find yourself having an international company. So you've got to pay attention. More information that you would like about this would be put into the membership, where You'll be able to find information about the official e-residency application information and the service provider marketplace, and the ones that I'm going to personally recommend to you based on the information that I find, which will allow you to take the first steps that you need to take towards building your own business in a location independent empire. This is the first country other than the United States that I plan to take another look at in the future. Yeah, look, when I found this out, so Belarus um, has no taxation, and there's like 5 other countries that have no taxation. So I would put a business, I would build a real estate. I already have a real estate in the United States, but I would build a real estate in the United States, and then I would foreign domestic it in Belarus. Then I could digitally set up a business in Estonia, and now I have the corporate taxes in Estonia that's non-taxed, and then I have payments in Belarus that is non-taxed. I could find myself anything that can't be written off as a corporate expense can be paid to me in Belarus and not be taxed to me in the United States. Because the United States requires you to claim all taxable income, but non-taxable income isn't taxed income in the United States. If it's non-taxed, it's non-taxed. And you got to remember that you got to talk to a tax attorney and all this other stuff to make sure that you stay on board with this situation. But you have to pay attention to the fact that the United States has tax reciprocity treaties, tax treaties with about 140 countries around the world. And Estonia is going to be one of them. You're going to find out that what's happening here is protected from unnecessary taxation from the United States as long as you meet the stipulated requirements. So if you're trying to expand your business and you're not trying to get hit with those corporate taxes, registering your business in Estonia, even if you're doing business in America, registering your business in Estonia, you can turn over a profit. If you're a YouTuber and you're trying to build your podcast, you're not bound to any one country. If you set up the business in Estonia and you link it to your YouTube account and you're paying your Estonia bank account, if you take the profits from your YouTube account and reinvest it into running ads, Estonia is not going to tax you for the profits you're getting from YouTube. Now, if you've got 1 million plus followers and you've got a separate account in the United States that's generating revenue for you, that one's going to get taxed. But the money that's being reinvested in the business, that's not going to be taxed. Now, there is no 100% foolproof way where you will never pay taxes ever anywhere in any country around the world. There's going to be a thing, especially if you're an American citizen, because all money made all around the world is required when you report taxes to the United States to be reported to the United States. All money that you make everywhere. But if you're not being taxed by Estonia, at least you're not being taxed twice. So if the money is not coming out of Estonia, it's staying in Estonia, you're avoiding that corporate tax. And if you're not generating a profit out of Estonia, you're likely not required to have that information negatively impact your taxation in America. But you always got to talk to a CPA and verify that. But the goal, again, is not for tax evasion. The goal is to build your business without losing your profits because of taxation. The goal is to expand. They have a lot of other countries like Japan that have incentives for startups. If you were to go to Japan and hire 2 employees to help run your business, whatever business you set up, they'll give you a certain quantity of money that now is being calculated into about 1.5 years of salary. They require you to put up about $30,000 or $40,000 worth of US dollars as part of startup costs. But if they're going to give you like $25,000 worth of money to cover the salary of your employees, that means that you've got 1.5 years for this business to start turning a profit before you go bankrupt. Unless you're going to use this business as a financial loss and pay your 2 or 3 natives to run the business, and offset this as a tax deduction towards your profits from America, where America allows you to make anywhere between 150 and $250,000 a year of non-tax international income. And that part is beneficial because if you're making up to $150,000 of non-tax international income and you have Estonia doing non-tax corporate tax, then you can make 150,000 a year and you don't pay taxes on it, and you reinvest it into the business. This is what we talk about. This is what we like, aha moment. Not too many people think about this until after I said something. So if you found this guide valuable, do me a huge favor. If you haven't done so already, hit that like and subscribe button, hit the notification button, mash those reaction buttons, because it really helps the channel reach more people just like you. And it makes sure that after you've subscribed and you've gone and taken a look at the membership, that you do deep dives into all the information I give you, because I'm going to be doing more deep dives on global wealth. I'm going to be providing you guys with all the tools and information and resources that I can get my hands on to make you guys successful in your capabilities of finding another way to be successful. A lot of the ideas that I give you, you might be able to take 6 ideas from 6 months ago and 5 ideas from this year and put them together and make you a fantastic company. But all it takes is for you to do your research, take notes, organize your thoughts, structuralize a business plan, and not so much a business plan like I'm going to go get a loan off this business plan, but this is a plan of action to get my business off the ground. And these are the things that I got to do. For you, Stephen, you've got that consulting business that you want to do, the counselor nursing thing. If you're going to be an online digital concierge mental health provider, you could potentially set up a business in Estonia, because you're not going to have a brick and mortar business anywhere around the world, and people can contact you and get mental health treatment over the computer. If you're a digital therapist, you might set your business up in Estonia and be a digital therapist all over the world. And as you reinvesting your money into the business to expand your business and hire more people and everything to that effect, you're not paying taxes on the expenses. Buying yourself a new laptop, paying for internet service, all of this other stuff that would otherwise be taxed. And then you would get the deduction after you've been taxed. With Estonia, you ain't got to worry about nothing. You just get your money, you just buy a bunch of stuff, you show them that you're paying for the business, that nobody else is getting money, just the business, and they'll leave you alone until you're ready to start paying people out. And paying yourself a salary and paying other people a salary is not a dividend investment. So a shareholder, somebody who has 50% shares in a company and they're getting paid $1 per share in dividends, that's taxed 22%. But the payroll, if you hire 10 employees, you're not paying taxes on that. And that's wild, because in the United States, sole proprietorships and partnerships and C corporations can be taxed up to 35%. Well, I believe that they did a fixed rate for corporate taxes for the C corporation, which is something close to 20%, 10 to 20%, where you have the 10% that can be donated to charity. But there's so many different ways. All it requires is for us to take a deeper look, figure out how we can benefit from it, what we've got to do to get there, and then if we decide to take action, baby steps. Make your plan, generate you some extra revenue, get yourself a plane ticket, fly over there. You can do most of the stuff digitally, but once they say you can come and pick your stuff up, that's when you're flying over there, doing your fingerprints, getting your stuff. So you might only be there for a couple of weeks, and then you're flying back, and then you're doing all the rest of the stuff that you need to do online. All it takes is getting a game plan. It takes putting together a direction of attack for your success and working towards your 20-year plan every day of the week, every week out of the year for the next 20 years till you reach your goal. And then once you reached your goal, then you can benefit from the fruits of your labors. So, with that being said, that's all I got for you guys for today. I want to start by saying, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So, ladies, please make it make sense. Fellas, I give you this information to help you all become higher value men. So if you find the things in your life that can change, that are inside of your control, you put forth the effort to change that. The things that you can't control, you navigate around. Ladies, with this being a male-driven podcast from the male's perspective, you too can make yourselves higher valued women, but you must build your 20-year plan by finding where you want to be in 20 years, what you need to do to get there, and then proactively tackling the things that need to be accomplished to get you where you want to be at in your next 20 years. You can also find a good partner that along the way, if you keep your eyes and ears open and look at their character, their credibility, and their personality, their ambition, their drive, their motivation. If they're heading in the same direction or a similar direction as you, y'all can work together and y'all can both accomplish your dreams. You don't have to do it by yourself. You can do it as a group and you get there just that much faster. Two people rowing a boat in the same direction can get the boat to move faster than one person rowing a boat by himself. So just keep your options open as far as your personal success. Keep your legs closed, option open. With that being said, I want to thank you guys for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I will see you guys tomorrow night, hopefully with better internet connection.
Chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity. That's my personal command. Thank you.